Hey everyone, welcome back to Hans Von, where I got the Gengar hat on today, and we're going to be talking about something that's a little controversial in the community, and that's rainbow rares and their inclusion in the TCG sets moving forward. So, we're going to flip this backwards, and we're going to freaking get into it. So, if you didn't know, in the new Scarlet and Violet series, that there's not going to be any rainbow rares. I don't think anybody's seen any. We don't know if they're fully cut from all of the future prints, etc. But for now, it looks like only the Sun and Moon era and the Sword and Shield era are the Pokemon sets that are going to have these types of cards. And this is both for Pokemon as well as trainers. And I think that's going to be something that looking forward is a major nostalgia factor for these sets. And I think people don't know what they have till it's gone, and I've said that quite a bit here on this channel, even though I'm relatively new. I'd say that looking historically in the community, when there are things that are out there that are kind of not a gimmick, but something that Pokemon does for a while that people get kind of sick of, this was something that was cool in the Sun and Moon era. And I think by the time Sword and Shield came around, people, especially in the trainer slots, were a little miffed that the artwork was kind of cut off in them. It seemed like a cheap gimmick to bloat a set with more secret rares, hyper rares, etc. And they wanted that kind of to go away. But I know down the road, when we look back at these sets, it's going to be something that we look fondly upon, or at least I know I will. And moving into this, I just wanted to go through some of these right now because I think it's a good time to pick up a lot of these. And so I just wanted to go through some of the Pokemon that I've seen that are either staple Pokemon or just Pokemon that I really like, and kind of show you the price points that they're at right now and why I think it's a pretty good time to buy. So Lapras GX is from Sun and Moon base. For the past year, it's been kind of steadily climbing, and we see right here it peaked up around $11. But I think all of the GX cards, looking back now, I really do appreciate the GX border, etc. I think it looks really clean, and the way their rainbows worked, it didn't have as much texture as the Sword and Shield ones did, but I think it's a really good first inclusion, especially from the first set of a stable Gen 1 Pokemon. Moving into my favorite Pokemon here, Tyranitar with Mega Sableye, and this one's pretty sweet. I love this card. I have it in Japanese in the full art, but not the rainbow, so I think I'm going to pick this up here. I'm trying to collect every single Tyranitar card out there, either in English or Japanese. I know one of the guys I follow on Instagram, Mr. Collectibles, just finished off a PSA 10 set of every one of those, first one ever. An amazing accomplishment, so go give him a follow. I actually just got a PSA 9 Holland Research Tower Tyranitar from him as well off eBay. So great guy. Hit him up. Short plug. But this card is amazing. I love the yellow inclusion on the sides. It really makes it pop. And still only going for about $23, which I think this is a banger of a card for $23. Super sweet. Moving here over to Rayquaza. This one has been plummeting over the past year, going down around 30% to $100. I mean, still, it's going to be a pretty expensive card, but Celestial Storm is still a relatively affordable set to purchase and hunt this card down. But for $100, this is a big win for Rayquaza for a discontinued type of rarity if Pokemon does go down there. The tag teams I think are especially strong in this format because, one, it's a unique card to Sun and Moon exclusively, as well as now a rarity that no longer appears. And so this is going to be something that is doubly rare, just like the alternate art tag teams are now that they've shot up in popularity. They weren't really that popular before. I should say they weren't really that valuable before. But now you're looking at this. This is Pikachu and Zekrom. I mean, they have the Pikachu Zekrom box out right now that may be a cause for some of this decline. I mean, it's not the rainbow version, but it is a surplus of those cards. If people are collecting them, maybe they don't want the rainbow. But for $66, I think that is a huge deal for something like this. I personally don't have one, but I really like the way it looks. And this is a rarity here with the Mew and Mewtwo GX. Actually, we're seeing a huge increase over the past year, going from around $90 all the way up to $113. This is kind of unheard of for rainbow rares, and I think it's just from the fact that it's iconic. Unified Minds has been booming lately too, up over around $400 for a booster box. So again, if you check out my investment video, I have this as one of the sets that I really wanted to try to get into this year. But just a banger of a card, Mew and Mewtwo. I really love. I mean, this is 5-band graphics. It's just the generated art, but I think it's a really cool photo between the two of them. And of course, it comes as no surprise that Charizard is in here too, with one of the fan favorites, Braixen, as well, which is funny. It's not the fully evolved form, but people really like Braixen. Don't check Rule 34 for that. But a really cool card. Again, tag teams are a major feature of the ones that I'm really looking at right now. This one's still $92, but it has peaked around 102, and before this year it was at 106. So, if you can grab one of these Cosmic Eclipses going to the moon right now, it's like $550, almost to $600. There's a booster box. Don't quote me on that, but that's pretty much where it's been. This past few months, it's just crazy. You can't find them anywhere. Last set in Sun and Moon. Now that we're into Scarlet and Violet, this is the new X and Y. And Sun and Moon is a great era of cards. So next we're going to move here into Sword and Shield with the Charizard V-Star. And for this one, this is relatively new still. And V-Stars are heavily featured in Sword and Shield. I mean, they're the answer after V-Maxes. It's not for me, like I'm not personally a Charizard collector, but I know for a fact that these are going to be unique cards moving forward if Rainbow Rares are not there. And Charizard is a staple in many collections. And I think that's going to be one of my next videos is actually lamenting over the inclusion of Charizard and shoehorning into sets to get them to sell. For me, I think this is, if people do like Charizard, this is one that's going to be really unique. And Brilliant Stars, great set as well. It's one of my best for investing in the Sword and Shield era. But again, the last Charizard on this one's going to be the Charizard VMAX out of Champion's Path. Probably one of the most dud sets out of the Sword and Shield era, but it does have two of the most expensive cards in the Sword and Shield era, which this one and the Shiny Charizard V. This one has been making a relatively good comeback after like bottoming out here around $160 earlier this year, but it is down overall for a long time. I mean, this used to be like a $200. I remember this was like a $300 card back in 2020's time, and now sitting at $182. I just think this isn't going to be something that's like a day, a week, a month. This might be a year, 2 years before people really get that itch to want to pull a rainbow card again. And either that's in the set or buying the singles themselves after the sets have been out of print, after these no longer keep appearing, after all the sets are out of rotation. We're well into Scarlet and Violet. We'll see if they even bring it back. I'm not really sure. But if you didn't know, let me bring this up really quick. So I want to just bring this up really quick just to show you guys why I think this may be the case. So in English, you expect the gold card of a Pokemon and the rainbow card to be generally around the same price. I mean, we can look at that historically. I mean, they're not too different. But in Japan, gold cards are always significantly more expensive than the rainbow cards. And I have some I just found Giratina here to be the example. You see here on price charting here, we have an average of $54 for the gold, whereas the rainbow here is only $21. And this was, I think, also for the Palkia V-Star that they have. I think the gold is like $25 and the rainbow rare is like $4. And this is just consistent across all Japanese cards. There's like no demand for the rainbow cards. And here we're kind of sick of them. Japan, the prices are matching that. And so I think that's maybe the reason that Pokemon reduced this. They've seen the huge impact of the alternate arts, of the art rares, etc. And while I do appreciate that and love it, I think these do have a place in the Pokemon community. And I think moving forward, it's going to be something that I'm going to be looking at into purchasing. Because over time, I think this is going to be something that's going to be appreciated by the community. Just like we look back now at the tag team cards, I don't think it'll be as impactful that we do with the rainbow cards, but I do think it's going to have some nostalgia with them. And while these might be cheap right now, I will say either they're just for your collection or you're anticipating them to go up in value. I can't 100% say that, but I do see these look back on as something fun and cool to collect out of these two eras of Pokemon cards, whether it's the tag teams, the V-Stars or the V-Maxes, or just the regular Vs or GXs. They're all beautiful cards to me, and they shine, and they just really pop. So hit me up in the comments of what you think. But otherwise, I'm out. See you guys.